Hi everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. This morning I'm still over at Dungeness, but made it up and out of my tent, which was a hard effort, I must admit, for a sunrise shoot. Sun's not risen yet, it's just gone 4:30 in the morning, so there's a couple of other people up actually. Some of the fishermen around this area obviously are working hard, but some other people as well enjoying this glorious, and fingers crossed it will be, a glorious sunrise. It's clear horizon, a little bit of haze there, so that may well mute the light a little bit as it's obviously rising, but I've got a fantastic subject set up already, so let's have a look at what I come up with today. For the first composition, I've got one of these lovely wrecks that's dotted all around this area, and this one is absolutely fantastic. I have actually captured this image of this wreck before when I was here last year, and I knew that I really wanted to come back and capture it for a second time. And the reason why I wanted to leave this one until the morning shoot is because of the direction that this wreck is laying. It's laying sort of completely 180 degrees to where the actual sun will be rising, and that means that obviously as the angle that the wreck is laying at, it's obviously going to capture some of that lovely morning light that you're obviously then going to be able to pick out. Now the key thing that I've done for this image is I've got the camera down really quite low, and the reason why is, again, obviously I want to use the wreck itself to obscure the power station behind. As I mentioned obviously in my previous vlog, I want to obviously hide that power station because it's not the most photogenic item around here, and getting down low obviously will achieve that, which is number one. The second thing as well is getting down low, I'm going to try to minimize my shadow because the light's obviously going to be behind me. I don't want that to sort of cast too much over the actual subject matter that I'm photographing. It's yeah, as I said on a couple of vlogs, it's really difficult to then clone that sort of shadow out in post-production. You can do it, but it doesn't always work that well. And if you can think about it when you're taking the image, minimize your profile on the horizon, so you're dropping down low, both the camera and yourself, then obviously it will help when you're editing the final image. And I think for this one here, working out really quite well. So I've got a bit of a test shot already. I've got the camera set up at f11, ISO 100 and 0.6 of a second as the first exposure. But obviously as the sun will rise, I'm going to change that shutter speed several times just so I can obviously capture that image. But for actual composition, yeah, loving this one. So I'm happy with the composition that I've got for this image here. Yeah, I don't think I can really improve it. I like the little bit of a foreground interest as well, and it's just sort of waiting for that light to appear and to obviously start doing its thing on the actual subject matter. Now unfortunately we haven't got any cloud in the sky, which means that I need to obviously fill the frame as much as possible with the subject matter, with hopefully a little bit of the sky going to catch that sort of morning lovely sort of pinks and oranges within the scene. But yeah, not too sure how that one would work out, but yeah, I'm really enjoying this one. I love the sort of grasses as well within the foreground, and obviously how the actual wreck is lying with obviously the netting around it as well, and all of obviously the workings, that how the angle of the boat is laying. You can obviously see all the workings of the motor that obviously was used at some point at some stage. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Really interesting, a lot of detail within this one. So again, what I'm making sure that I'm going to do is obviously make sure it's as sharp as possible, so you're obviously then able to retain that information when you're obviously coming back to post-production of the image, because the last thing you want is obviously a soft image. Yeah, okay, you can sort of sharpen it a little bit in post-production, but if it's soft in the first instance, it's really not going to work out that well. And hopefully with this one, should be okay. So with the camera settings, what I've actually done is made sure that I manually focus on the actual wreck itself, because I'll just want to make sure that this image is as sharp as possible. Because I'm spending so much time and effort over it, I really want to make sure that I'm detailed and obviously got everything correct in camera, so when I obviously come back to process it, I just need to obviously tweak it that ever so little slightly within the raw file to actually work out really quite well. So again, just keeping the settings at 18mm, f11, ISO 100, and obviously just working the shutter speed. So I started off at 1/10 of a second, and obviously just slowly increased the shutter speed to now about 1/25 of a second. So it may sound really crazy about obviously laying here on the floor taking this actual composition, but if I was to raise my hand about where the camera is or just above it and start waving, I can really see obviously the shadow that it will cast over this actual composition. And yeah, it's crazy obviously laying here on the floor. Luckily enough, it's not too cold, to be honest, even though it's 5:10 in the morning, but working out to be really well worth it and putting in the effort. So making sure that obviously I've got the image as sharp as possible. I'm minimizing my profile within the land, so obviously I'm not obviously creating that shadow, and obviously then I've got the lovely light that's obviously coming in behind me, lovely lighting up this scene. So taking another image now at f11, ISO 100 and 1/30 of a second, and just obviously working through the actual exposures and just increasing that shutter speed ever so slightly as the light obviously changes. And this is fantastic. Makes worth only having sort of 2 hours sleep over the night to capture both obviously sunset, the astrophotography last night, and also now with sunrise. Yeah, absolutely worth it. It's the effort that you put in, that's where the rewards are going to come from. Fingers crossed it actually does work out well. So after taking several images with different shutter speeds, I really have enjoyed working this composition. However, even though I've really enjoyed it, I don't want to waste the light that I've actually got this morning. So I'm going to go and try and find another composition of some of the wrecks over that way. As now we've got this fantastic lively golden light that you get at sunrise. Come across obviously another wreck, but this one I felt was really quite interesting, and the reason why is how I've actually framed it up. So what I've got is obviously this must be some sort of roadway obviously that the fishermen use to obviously get the tractors down, because there's a lot of grooves where the obviously tractors have been up and down here, and that's making for some lovely sort of diagonal lines within the actual composition. I've got the wreck over there as well, RX 435. Yep, that's what it's called. Yeah, absolutely fantastic as well as a subject matter. Got a little hut as well, again sort of adding to what obviously the area is about, and then one of the fishing boats in the background at the same time. So camera's set up on f11 ISO 100, 18mm, and about 1/50th of a second as the exposure. Making sure as well when I'm composing this image that I've got obviously some of the plants and shrubs that are obviously growing around here as well, because again that's all part of obviously the atmosphere and everything around here and the environment. But yeah, as I'm loving the lines, as obviously the light is hitting different parts of it as well, bit of interest in the foreground, the midground with obviously the shrubs, and then obviously the wreck itself as well, which is where I'm focusing on, and then obviously the details in the background as well that you'll still be able to pull out using obviously the aperture of f11 as well. So yeah, absolutely fantastic, and what a fantastic morning to be out doing photography. Yet again, what a fantastic shoot that I've had this morning, and really worthwhile getting up out of the tent and dragging yourself out the sleeping bag when all you want to do is stay there. But being rewarded with this light and the compositions that I came up with this morning is really worthwhile. I hope you've really enjoyed these vlogs that I've done here at Dungeness. It's been a great time for me to come out and do these shoots here, and really enjoyed it, both obviously doing the photography, camping, but also sharing some time with some friends that are obviously doing the fishing over here as well. So yeah, it worked out really quite well in the end, and hopefully, as I say, you've enjoyed it. And if you have, please make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you obviously give it a thumbs up as well, and if it's your first time watching, please consider subscribing. And until next time, take care. I just remembered the car's in that direction.